Hello and welcome to Tech with Heart. I am your host, Michelle Calloway, and Tech with Heart is all about empowering entrepreneurs to embrace technology, systems, and strategies that will help them to stay competitive and relevant in today's digital era. And so today's topic is about leadership, but leadership as far as how do you stand in your brand as an effective leader. So with me today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Lisa Wilson, and she is an HR leadership expert who's authored 3 best-selling books, and her latest of which is titled Leading with Ease, or Lead with Ease. She'll be sharing that a little bit more later, but she supports business leaders so that they can take their teams to amazing new heights. So enjoy this conversation. Tune in for the entire thing. You're not going to want to miss a thing that she says if you're in a leadership role. So welcome to the Tech with Heart stage, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Let's dive right on in. So share from your perspective, because I know you've been in the HR world for a long, long time, and now you're working exclusively trying to help leaders be the best versions of themselves. So what is the most important thing that a leader needs to focus on when leading teams?
I think the most important thing is their vision. Where is it, like, what is it that you want to, where do you want to go? And I guess probably mission, vision, and values. All 3 kind of work together. I always try and separate them and I can't. But so knowing where you're headed, knowing how you want to get there, and being really clear on what's important to you on that trip. The clearer you are in those things, the easier it is to make decisions, and the easier it is for your team to make decisions that are going to take you where you're planning to go. Because otherwise people are they just don't have the direction that they need. So with those 3 in place, and the more clear you are on it, and it's almost like any other selling point, you have to sell it, right? Michelle and I were speaking yesterday, and I told her that when I speak to anyone in marketing, we have a lot of the same message, because when you need to do the same for your employees that you are saying you're going to do for your clients.
You know, there's a lot of small business owners who kind of know in their gut and their heart, like, you know, like what they're up to and where they want to go, right? But to be able to define that in written words so that you can then share with your team is an absolute must. But some don't know exactly how to phrase that or get that down. Do you have any just like some ideas on how to help a leader get clarity and written definement of what those mission, vision, and goals are?
Yeah, so I think so if you know where you're headed, and what I like to say about the vision is that, here's how I picture it in my mind. A vision is something that's really far off. If you think of a beautiful picture at the end, or a scene at the end of a road that's really far away, something that you will never get to. So I usually have words in there like better or improved, things like that, because it will always be working towards it. So you never really want to get to your vision. I worked for a company, and the one that I use all the time is I worked for a company called Magna International. I talk about them in the book, but they were really clear on who they were and where we were going, and it made it so great to work there. One of the things that they had was they talked about making a better product at a better price. So even though I never touched a part, I was human resources, I knew that I had a role in making a better product at a better price. I was constantly trying to save money. That was our goal. And I was doing everything I could to make it easier for the staff who were touching the part, because it was very clear to me that they were the important people, not the engineers, not the HR people. We were all what they referred to as overhead. Now, I need to be clear in this. They didn't treat us badly. They did not treat us badly, but they were really clear. We were constantly trying to make a better product at a better price. And you needed to make sure that you were helping do that in some way. So something very short like that, and just with clarity. And I don't know the difference. I obviously can't speak to all the different people that are listening, but a really clear short statement for your vision, and something about the world as in large. So I use maybe a hairdresser. So a hairdresser you'll ask them, well, what do you do? Well, I cut hair. Well, no, you don't. You're giving people confidence. When people walk, like, think about how good we feel when we walk out of the hairdressers, right? And so I've often said that to them to create confidence in my, more of a vision of creating confidence with every haircut or something like that. Something that gives your reason a little bit of the why behind it too.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you gave examples. I think examples are just so helpful, especially when we're talking about concepts that can be somewhat vague to some, especially those newer leaders. And so when we're talking about mission, values, goals, and you talked about how what you do impacts people, and then you're talking about like how to lead your teams with that same kind of identity. I know that we call that brand identity. And so when you define why you're doing what you're doing, how you're going to do what you're doing, it's all like part of a business plan, but it also really feeds into the brand. And I think that's where I'd like to take this conversation next.
Mm-hmm.
The title of this episode is How to Stand in Your Brand as a leader. And you want it to be able to be easily communicated, right, to your teams, but also to the world. Like, people will buy into you, your product, your service, and your brand because perhaps of the value of the offering, plus the pricing possibly of the offering, but then ultimately, like, why this is the why they should choose you kind of concept. It's all part of your brand identity. So can you talk to us a little bit about how having a brand does indeed help you as a leader to not just lead the world to know who you are, but your team specifically?
Absolutely. So I feel this is so important. The first thing when we get into business, we find someone to help us with marketing, and we create this great marketing. And then you'll see the companies that get bigger and bigger who they say that they're one thing, but they're something else. So for example, have you ever been somewhere, and I used to use an example, but no one's seen it anymore. So where they say like they're the friendliest place to work. And then you go in there and you can see the people working in the back and they're being yelled at by their boss. This is not the friendliest place, right? If that's in your marketing to be the friendliest place, then be the friendliest place, not just to your clients, but also to your staff. Because if you're not treating your staff that way, they're not going to walk out and be client facing and be kind. So for me, it's all about consistency through that. So whoever you say you are, you need to be that all the time. And I mean, nobody's perfect, but you need to be thriving to be that. I mean, no one's friendly in every moment. Sometimes we have a rough day and we're a little grumpy, but for the most part, people will forgive you on one day if you're having a rough day, if you're 80 to 90% of the time that friendly that you said you are.
Being able to do business online is crucial for survival, especially during times of social distancing. So how do you survive and thrive in the sea of digital noise? It's a lot like fishing. You need to know who your perfect customer is so that you could use the right kind of lure to attract them. We help you catch your perfect customer and retain them for future sales through highly converting websites, influencer mobile apps, getting you featured in the news and on TV. Hi, my name is Jerry Bowden, U.S. Army veteran and president of Revealio Software Solutions. Our goal is to help you rise above the competition, be seen as an expert authority in your industry, and embrace technology to stay competitive for long-term success. It's more affordable than you may think. So reach out to us at revealio.com, and together we will make your business come alive.
That's a really good point, because you don't want, when you're creating this brand identity concept to build your brand upon, it needs to be genuine and authentic. And because you don't want to come up with some ideas, vision statements that you think the world wants to hear, or that would help investors want to get involved, or just whatever, if it's not going to be authentic to you as a leader. Because ultimately, you as the leader, your company will only reach the height of what you're capable of leading as a leader. Am I correct in that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. At the moment we start adding people to the mix, you have to step out of the doing, we'll call it, and start being the leader. And one of the things when I'm working with leaders, one of the things I have to say over and over is you can't be doing the same amount of tasks as the people that work for you. So I'll give an example of lawyers. There's sort of a managing partner. Well, that managing partner can't have as many clients as the people who don't have any management duties. You need to have about 50% or possibly less, depending on the clients you're taking, because possibly you're more senior and are taking on the more difficult ones, right? So you need to be not taking as much task work and doing more leading, because people need you to be there to answer the questions, to make sure that they're staying on the same road, following that mission, vision, and values.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, man, it is like, it's one thing to be your own business owner. It's a whole nother thing to scale your company so that you're taking less and less of an active role in your business. You're just working on your business by showing up and leading. And it's a completely different mindset. And I'm so glad that we're talking about it, because today we're, the theme for this week, we wanted to talk about leadership and knowing how to communicate. Well, first of all, building that brand, writing it down, getting it in concrete. It's a huge part of your business plan. And then being able to convey that and then getting alignment within that brand identity package with your teams. It all also goes down to systems, but then high amounts of communication. So let's shift into that. How do you effectively communicate with teams when they all have their own unique personalities? So tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that.
So just before I say that, I'm going to say there's also, as you're scaling, there are different levels. So when you start to scale and there's, 3, 4, 5 people, it's easy. You can just go one-to-one and tell everyone, right? You can still have one of those conversations. The moment you get to 8 to 10, you now need systems. You need a system for communication. And then when you get even larger than that, there's another number somewhere, I'll say 8 to 12, there's another number somewhere around 50 people, where now you're communicating with the people who are going to communicate to the front line. So you're now the leader leading the leaders. So again, you need even better systems to make sure that that's all moving through. I just wanted to share that. It was something that I thought of when you were
we always like to talk about, we like to talk about systems within this Tech with Heart Foundation, because it's such a critical part of being able to automate certain things, being able to communicate efficiently and effectively is where we're going next here. So I know we're not going to get into the weeds with the different types of systems. We don't have time for that today, but
no.
We do have some episodes if you'd like to do some research at techwithheartnetwork.com, where we do talk about how to make systems within your business to allow you to scale. So for now, we're going to just focus on, now we're dealing with people. We're dealing with people and communication styles and the various different personalities out there of teams. So just speak to us a little bit about what your experiences have been there and how to help guide leaders to be more effective.
So that's one of the things that's really important to me. And in leading with these in the course as well as the book, it's the first thing we do. And the first thing I do is I take you through a personality assessment. I have my favorite, but I really don't care which one you use. Doesn't matter if you want to go find a free one online, that's okay too. It starts to give you a framework of how different people do different things. The reason I use the one that I use is but it gives you a really good framework. So you'll see that there's certain personalities that like to do things quickly, certain that really like to think things through. There's certain personalities that are more people focused, and there's other personalities that are more task focused. So they put this in a circle, and then they place you somewhere in the circle. And you can see how much you are like that based on where you're placed in the circle and how close you are to sort of either side.
So when you are doing those types of assessments, I think it's an absolute must. Like anybody that could potentially be an employee or a team player, you need to understand their personalities, their values, their communication styles. So knowing that is critical, because you're going to want to put the right people with the right strengths in the right types of positions so that there's less friction, right? Yes. Wouldn't you say that helps with
Absolutely. But the other thing is, I will always assess a team. So I've often had teams come and ask me, can you do this with us? And we do. And then I'll assess the team and say, look, you don't have anyone in this corner. And you don't have anyone in this corner. So someone's going to be pulled into this all of the time, because you need all of them. You need all personalities. If you only have one personality, you're either doing things too quickly and not thinking it through, or maybe you're only focusing on the task. and doing it too slowly, or you're only focusing on the people and doing it too slowly, or you're doing it too quickly and focusing just on the people or the task. So you want a full rounded team. You want someone from each personality on your team, and then you need to be able to communicate with them. And it's okay that how I put it is that we don't learn this so that everyone knows, oh, I'm this personality and you're all going to talk to me this way. That's not the idea. The idea is that we go to, okay, I'm this personality, you're this personality. Today, can I get you to come to my side and just understand it in this way? Maybe I'm usually on the quicker side where I jump into things as opposed to thinking them through. So perhaps some days I'll say to someone, you know what, can you just give me the abbreviated version of whatever you want to tell me? Other days, they then can say, wait, Lisa, you need to hear all of this. So and I actually had a really great person that I worked with. So I'm on that side where I like things done quickly. She was on the side, she liked all the details and she liked to know everything about everything. So what she would do to, I'll call it manage up, because she reported to me, she would come to me and say, Lisa, I have to tell you something. You have to hear all the details. Would you like them now or after lunch? So she would give me the opportunity, if I was really focused on something in the moment, or I didn't have the patience for it at that moment, I could say, look, come back after lunch. And then I would know at lunch I needed to go and get my energy back so that I was ready to listen to all of her details. Right. So just understanding that and being okay with it. We were both very okay with it. I knew who I was and I was okay with that. She knew who she was. And we knew that sometimes I needed to bend and do it in her way. And sometimes she had to bend and do it my way. And that's okay. On the days that it struggled, we probably got annoyed with each other, but that's okay. We both knew who we were, and it made it a really good team in that way. So you really want to consider, who are you? And then who are you working with? And don't hire all of yous. Hire people who aren't like you, and just so that you get different ideas. Because if I always say this, if there's no disagreement at your table when you're making a decision, you're not making the best decision. Somebody's not comfortable speaking up, or somebody's not thinking.
That's a very good point. I really like that you said it that way, because sometimes us leaders, we just kind of feel like, as a leader, we should just be like, oh, you do this. Oh, yeah. And ultimately, that's not effective leadership. The best leaders lead leaders. Yes. Or people who could potentially become a leader. And also the training within you as the leader to identify who does have more propensity to become another leader, and then find out how to continue to groom them. Because when you could get those loyal quality team members or employees, or however you're structuring your company, those are gold members. You don't ever want, there's so much time invested into building a quality team. You want to ensure that you're making everybody feel valued, seen, and heard, and giving them some autonomy as well, if you can, if you're in a position to do so, because that frees you up more, and then you're grooming them to be able to be those leaders that you're communicating with earlier. Like you mentioned, once you start going past 50, now you're mostly communicating to your leaders, right? So being an effective leader, would you say, has a large amount not to just do with you communicating, but part of communication is you also listening?
Yes. Oh, yes. So we all heard this, right? We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You're supposed to listen twice as much as you speak. And I think that's really important, because if you're not hearing what your team has to say, or your team isn't comfortable, like I said, you're just not making the best decisions. You're never making the best decision if you're not making it from a place that you've had lots of input. And I agree with you. I think a lot of times, and worse, I think for entrepreneurs, because we get so used to having to make the decision on our own, and we just get overwhelmed, and we just, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. But when you start, especially as an entrepreneur, bringing in staff, you're bringing people with an expertise that you don't have. So you really need to listen to them, because they know more about it than you do. You may have taken 6 courses on marketing, but they have a degree. Right? So, and that's all they do. Same with the bookkeeper. You may have taken lots of courses on bookkeeping. You may have, but that's all they do. And so they're going to do it faster than you, and they're going to do it better than you. You do want to be careful, because I know I've hired marketing people that sort of went off. They went a little off my brand. So I had to call it back in. And then we started doing more of a I approved everything that went up. So you do still need to keep hold of your brand and what you want put out there, but you don't necessarily have to be involved in everything. They can make really good decisions for you.
Yeah, your brand is your reputation. You're building your reputation for you and also your company. And if you keep on brand consistently with your own teams, then it becomes more ingrained in them as well. So this has been super enlightening. I know it's kind of surfacey. I wish we had more time, but you know what? We've covered some really great topics. And I know, Lisa, that you are very open to people reaching out to you to possibly have a conversation on how they can be more effective as a leader within their own company and stay in brand. So tell us how we can reach out to you if they want to have like a little quick convo.
Sure. The best way to do that is just go straight to my website. It's lmwcoaching.ca.
Because you're in Canada, eh?
Yes. Yes, I sure am.
So she's in Canada, but you can reach out to her whether you're in the US or whether you're in some other country. Just reach out to her there. And then also, Lisa, show us your book. And can people find your book from your website?
Yes, or go to leadingwithease.ca.
Nice. Very congratulations on your book. You guys, if you are interested, you can even download it and do a Kindle version, I'm sure, right? So just go, if you want to be the most effective version of your leadership self, please reach out to Lisa. Lisa, what is one phrase, thought, or word that you would like to impression upon people as they leave this interview today?
Your brand is really who you are. So the truer you are to yourself, the better your brand will show up.
Authenticity and transparency, all those things. People buy into that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for tuning into the Tech with Heart show today. If you are an expert in your niche and you would like to share some valuable insights to a very innovative but yet heart-centered community of entrepreneurs, please visit techwithheartnetwork.com and let us know that you would like to be on the Tech with Heart show or possibly lead a workshop or host a webinar. Please come join our community. We really are looking for people to help us lead others into embracing more technology, systems, and strategies in their business. And if you're just a wonderfully, heart-centered entrepreneur who just isn't so tech savvy, but you want to be around people who do get it, but are willing to meet with you where you're at and simplify concepts, then please, again, reach out to us at techwithheartnetwork.com, join our community for free, or upgrade to be considered an influencer in our community. We'd love to have you. Here's to your success.
Your story needs to be seen and heard, and your brand needs to be revealed. Revealio elevates purpose-driven businesses into the spotlight through video storytelling, augmented reality video marketing, and professional website design. Get discovered online or in the news. Be featured in national magazines or host your own TV, podcast, or live radio show. Together, we make your brand come alive. All it takes is Revealio. Visit Revealio.com to get started today. Minority and service disabled veteran owned.